Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Saturday night. I am your Saturday night. I am so glad to have you here. Oh my goodness, it is another beautiful Saturday. We are here again with this big old painting, and guess what? We're going to be having some fun with it. Oh, yes, we are going to be having some fun with it. But before we get rolling too far, depending on where you're joining me, you're going to see a link somewhere for my website. And why do you want to go to my website? Well, first off, because that's where you can get my art originals, my art prints, and my merch. And what do I have for merch? I have tons of merch. Tons of merch. Well, let's start with the obvious. One, I have t-shirts, sweaters, I have leggings, I have crop tops, but I also have bags and things to carry your brushes and pencils in. And I have my own sketchbook. Oh, and the sketchbook is awesome. You should definitely get one. It would make my day. Plus, if you use the code BDAY, that's BDAY, BDAY, you can get 17% off for the rest of the month. Why? Because this is my birthday month. That's why. So, just keep that in mind. If you use the code BIRTHDAY, or BDAY, excuse me, specifically BDAY, BDAY, you can get 17% off any purchase over $100 to help me celebrate my birthday. Alright, so we have our big happy painting here, and it is big, and it is happy, and it is a painting. And what more do I say? It's big, it's happy, it's a painting. Actually, I could say a lot. I could say a whole lot. Just tons of stuff. I got my palette here, and I'm going to get some paints. And you might be asking yourself right now, what are we doing? What are we doing? And the answer is, we are continuing this really big painting. It has come a long way. If you saw what it was originally, you're going to appreciate even more what it is now. Even more what it is now. And it's pretty cool. Now, when it comes to this particular painting, the theme, of course, is this dreamer sleeping in the grass. I had this beautiful idea, this summery idea, and honestly, the more I think about it, the more I like it. And the more I like it, the more I'm like, ooh, we can do a lot here. So let's actually just go ahead. I'm going to jump right in. I'm not going to wait. I have some paints that I need to use. We're just going to start. I just need a little bit of raw umber and a tiny little brushy brush. And you might be asking, why am I starting with a little bit of raw umber and a tiny little brushy brush? Because I actually had started to do like lots of this hair here. And I kind of want to really build in all of these very specific curves. I have some very specific curves here I want to build in, and the way I'm doing that is with this raw umber. Making sure to fill in certain areas that I need some deeper shadow in. And honestly, already I think that looks pretty good. Because a lot of this really is almost entirely for shadow. I know that it kind of matches with the hair color, but we need our shadows, and we need strong shadows. strong shadows. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing weekend. Just the best weekend. The absolute best weekend. You know, I generally hope that everyone is doing great. That you are enjoying yourselves as much as I'm enjoying being able to spend time with you. Because I am enjoying getting to spend time with you, my absolutely remarkable, wonderful people. And if no one has told you today that you're remarkable, you are. So, yes, it is my birthday weekend. I'm going to talk about that a little bit because I have some things to think about and some things to say because they're on my mind. You know, I think that's natural, you know, a little bit of stuff on your mind when you know you're getting older, as it were. And I'm not that old. But I still acknowledge I'm not as young as I used to be. And there's actually a lot of good things about that. Like, not being as young as I used to be is not a bad thing. In fact, if anything, it's pretty cool to not be as young as I used to be. When we're younger, we actually take a lot for granted, and I know I did. I know specifically that there was things that I took for granted that I do not take for granted now. Or at least I don't take for granted in the same way. That's actually a pretty big thing. Acknowledging our own growth. Acknowledging our changes. Alright, I like that. That's pretty good. We're going to grab another brush. I have a lot to do here. And because I have a lot to do, I'm just going to really get into this. So I have some colors that I'm going to be adding. But a lot of this right now is really working on some areas of detail. I'll tell you what, I need to buy paint. So if you buy anything on my website, that will help me buy paint, and I would be very appreciative. I only tease a little. You know, you gotta tease a little, right? A certain level of teasing is necessary. But I'm working with very small amounts of paint right now because I don't want too much of anything just yet. At least not until I can really get what I want going on here. So we have some stuff I need to do with the skin. So I'm going to grab this really big number 12 brush. It is a flat brush, kind of an angled flat brush. Tapered. It's a tapered flat brush. But there's some stuff I need to start doing. Start to really build up my Sleeping Beauty. Now this is a semi-transparent paint that I'm using right now, and the main goal is to start to build up some of my flesh tone. There's a lot of this that's going to be unrealistic. Let's be fair, I am an abstract painter for the most part. And I can get very impressionistic, and I can get very creative in many ways. So a little bit of creative license is needed as I build up this beautiful dreamer. And I say beautiful not because of the physical characteristics, but because I think that dreaming is something that we need to do more often. With all these blues and cool tones and everything that I took time to establish early on, and all of these deeper shadow recesses, you should be able to get a really fun effect as far as the skin and a lot of the features. We're gonna get really dug in to some fun and experimental levels of tone. Do understand this is not even close to the end. This is not the end, my friends. This is just another step in the journey. And that's one of those things that you do have to remember, like, everything that I've been doing so far, this is all steps in the journey. Bringing our dreamer to life. With her sweet summer dreams. Like, even right now, just with that, I'm sure you can see there's an enormous difference, a huge difference in how she appears, how she's presented. That's just her face. We have the rest of her body to do. And I'm actually going to let her face settle for a moment as I get down here. Just working through everything little bit by little bit. So one of the things that this tone is going to do is it's going to take away some of the harshness that was already there. 'It's going to start to blend and bring out more of our character. Now that last part, to me, is one of the most important, is bringing out the character. Making her really start to feel multidimensional. And because this is a semi-transparent paint, we're not going to lose everything that I spent all that time building with all those blues and browns and the amber colors, the yellows and the white. And this isn't even the end. This is just another leg. And it's leaving the bases for what a lot of my shadows are going to be. Now, her texture is going to be really uneven, but let's be fair. How many people do you know who have perfectly even skin tone? Like perfectly even everywhere. And that's one of the big things that I'm getting here, is that natural, very real, maybe not natural, maybe not real, but more interesting, definitely. With every layer, we're going to get closer to what will be eventually our final physical appearance. I'm having fun. I hope you are too. So I had my art workshop today, and I bring that up for a number of reasons. One, I'm proud of it. Two, oh my god, I got so hot during it. Like, truly, just unbelievably hot. This time of year is really difficult for my streams. Because of things like the heat, and, you know, I have to think about my sound. And one of the things that my sound does not need, like 100% does not need, is like all the fans in the background. So I do my best to not have the background full of fans. But, you know, you can't always do that. Cannot always do that, and, you know, that's just not how it goes. But I really enjoy the fact that, you know, even with the heat, even with the issues that I can have sometimes, I am still capable of doing the things that I like. That was some real thick paint right there. I'm going to acknowledge that right now. That was some thick paint. It's okay. Get a little bit off my brush. That is definitely too much, but you know what? We're going to just work with it. To be fair, I make mistakes. I make mistakes. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm going to have to let this dry a little bit, and then I can come in and really get more going on. Like, wow, doesn't that already make a huge difference? I'm completely well aware we have a lot more to do, but at this point in time, like, that is awesome. She went from very much not a person to this is like believably a person. Believably a person. So there's a couple things that I do need to do still. I mean, I'm going to get to those, but we are just going to take a moment. I'm going to let this settle and dry a bit. I do have a lot more background to put in. I have just a ton more paint to put on top and around to really build this up. But as far as paintings go, right now this is one of the most believable people I have ever made. To me, at least. There's actually something I want to do really quick because that shadow is so deep. And those lips just need a little help. Sometimes you have to acknowledge when the lips need a little help. Or when some details are starting to look a little fuzzy. But I need to make sure enough stuff is kissed with sun. Like truly kissed with sunlight. So there's areas that need to be brighter, areas that need to be darker. And there's areas that I need to start building shadows in. And I'm going to get to that in just a second here. I think the hands are dryish enough. Okay, so there's some wet skin there. I'm just going to sketch in a little bit of the shadow for where the nails are going to be. Now with fingernails, something to remember is they're not some incredibly uniform, one-size-fits-all thing for everyone. Fingernails vary greatly from person to person. For the most part, where the nail bed and everything is, stays similar, but it's never exactly the same. So I'm just going to take a little bit of white here. And I'm going to start to lighten these areas as I begin to build. And this is white actually mixed with that burnt umber that I was using to make the nail bed. There's a few reasons for that, but the primary reason is I want to make sure that I'm starting to differentiate the nails. The ring fingernail looks a little bit big to me. You also have to keep in mind that the way fingers and things bend, that things are not always, again, uniform and neat. So this gives me an opportunity to do that. I'll probably end up putting some sort of polish on the nail. And actually, I need to pull that over a little bit. So yeah, I'll probably end up putting some polish on the nail. What that is going to look like, I don't know yet. Now the middle fingernail got a little weird. I'm going to be able to fix that, but first I have to let this dry. For the other nails, they look pretty close to where they need to be. They're pretty close to where they need to be right now. I have some other things to consider in my shape and in my form. So we will get to all of that as I continue moving forward. But if you just look at this as it is right now, though there's still a lot to be done, I think that this is objectively a really good base for my art. There's a bunch of stuff I've had to fix as I go along, and there's going to be more stuff to fix as I go along. I do have to consider certain portions of the anatomy and how they're really going to move, but I'm not going to get fixated on hyper-realism here or anything like that. I am going to try to make sure that the majority of my attention is spent on getting things to feel right. So we do have this wonderful blue kind of outfit. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking 2 blue from Apple Barrel, and I'm going to come in here and use this wide flat brush here, and I'm actually going to start to get this outfit a little bit darker, but I'm also going to start to build in better shape. Just some better shape to everything. It's just something that we need to have, better shape. And I'm kind of starting from this bottom area on here. Since I already darkened some spots in where shadows will be, the 2 blue is going to help kind of start to fill in those areas. This is again not the last layer. But we gotta have rich color. We have to have variation in the color. So this is going to be a little bit patchy, but it's gonna look good. It's going to look richer, darker. It's really going to help her stick out even more from the grass that's there. It's going to help me do things like clean up some of my shadow edges. Hopefully you can kind of see that effect as it's going into action here. Now this is a bit of a thinner paint, and because it's a thinner paint, I actually have a lot more freedom with how I can get it to move. It's very subject to things like pulling and motion like this. And I'm pushing it further down than it needs to be, but that's just because when I reestablish that grass edge, I want to make sure that all of my colors are actually where they need to be. So, that's just a little bit of work to help establish. Obviously, like, the grass is going to be 100% the last thing that gets finished properly. I like the idea that the entire outfit matches. Take a moment to really go over the edges there. And then just add some curving into this line. And there we go. That's a huge change to the outfit, to everything. And when I say huge, like, that's already in itself a really big change. Really big, really effective. What I'm going to do is, even though I have a lot more to do before the final grass is put in, is I'm going to take some green and I'm going to start to firm up some of my edges and borders here, because I really entirely changed the arm position. I've entirely kind of flopped things around to get a different appearance. So I need to start firming those up. So let's choose the right green. I'm actually going to go with Monstral Green, because Monstral Green is really, it's just strong. It's strong. And I think it's going to be a good color to have underneath everything. I'm going to use a small angle brush. And just going to start to get rid of some of this weirdness over here. Where some of my edging started to get strange. You know. Coming in here. And this is really just helping me establish a few things for later. You know, get some additional cover up around places where it makes a lot of sense. make my anatomy stronger. Get rid of some of this unnecessary darkness. Every art piece requires a lot of consideration. And this right here is a good example of how these considerations can be utilized. So, when it comes to art, I am of the opinion that, if you don't like something, just change it. That's fine, just change it. Don't think that you're stuck with whatever it is you've done, because you're not. And this right here is a good example. You're not stuck with what you've done. I'm going to grab a really thick brush here, because there are some areas that, like, I liked this yellow at first, but I like it a lot less now. Because of the thickness of some of the paint I've laid down, I'm not going to be able to get rid of all of the texture I put in, but that is fine. I don't need to. In fact, some of that texture is going to help when I eventually get done with this. But as you can see, we've come a really long way. A really long way. Alright. Now I have a little bit of vermilion. Vermilion. It's going here. Just strengthening my lips. Don't need too much. And there's some stuff I'm going to have to fix there, but I mean, even that, with that little bit of vermilion, it really strengthens the lips. We have a lot of implied shadow and curvature. We have this really nice skin tone going on. Take a little time to strengthen my hair again. With the burnt umber. it should be relatively easy to tell that,
the hair's just being allowed to do whatever it wants.
So it's just kind of mixed in
With our background and everything.
All right. So that's just a huge improvement on our previously already pretty nice painting. You'd be asking yourself lots of questions right now. Where do we go from here? What's the plan? What are we doing? Oh, so many things. So many things. So, just a little bit of white. In case you're wondering where that white's going.
And I know I just spent that time to bring the red out more, but I need multi-tonality.
Like that, as it is right now, is not going to stay the way it is, but I need it. I need it at the moment.
Kind of like, need a little bit of this.
These are not the best fingernails I've ever done.
Gonna be fair on that.
And some of the finger positions are a little wonky.
I think that's the only way I can put that. But it's one of those things, like, I have slightly twisted
Fingers, like they're not all straight, and I bet if you look at yours,
you'll notice that you might have the same thing. Like, not all your fingers are exactly straight and level.
and if that is the case, you're going to be very much like our dreamer with her kind of multi-positioned fingernails. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I still have a lot to do here. I'm going to need to go over the skin all again. Clearly, like, I have a lot to do with my background. A lot of my shadows are being built, but I'm going to need to deepen some. Like, you can clearly see there's folds and different levels and natural curvature and things like that. But there's more to be done. There's more. One thing I'm going to do here, a flat brush, need to get some of this tummy worked out a little better.
Her skin is actually looking a lot nicer as I go along. So I'm going to take that as just a generally good sign that I'm doing something right. At this point, this is just my opinion, but it kind of looks like she has a mild tan, very mild tan, and stretch marks actually. And I like that she has stretch marks. It's harder to see on the camera, but I don't know, it's just the way it looks to me. It looks kind of like she has some stretch marks, and I love that. And I don't know if I can maintain that as I continue to build up, but I'm going to try to. Like, I'm sincerely going to try to keep her stretch marks as best as I can. Especially as I really hone in on getting all of this done. Oh, as much work as I know as this is going to take, I'm still feeling really proud about what I've done. To me, I think this is actually a really ambitious painting because translating my sketching and my drawings of people over to paint is not the easiest thing for me. But I think that this is the best I've ever done in that arena, as it were. And because of that, this is potentially one of my nicest paintings. Are all the curves and everything perfect? Nah. But this is really nice right now. Oh. And just building up some of the textures with my paints. And some of the ridges and musculature is coming out really nicely. So we will get the Dreamer done. Right now, I think this might be as far as I can come. I'm going to do just a couple more things, but unfortunately the heat is getting to me. As I near almost 4 hours of camera and painting time. Hopefully the fan I have on in the background hasn't been too distracting, but there was no way I was going to be able to paint without it today. Absolutely no way. I'm actually looking at it right now, both in person and on the big screen. I think this looks really good. This is a great deal of improvement for myself, and in general, a great deal of growth in my skill. The face is actually looking really good. I know that I'm putting a lot into getting some of the curves and some of the shapes and whatnot of it there. And I know that right now she doesn't have real eyebrows, but she's slowly gaining eyebrows. But I'll be danged if this isn't really cool to me. I mean, her anatomy isn't perfect. Her face isn't perfect, but this almost is starting to look like a person actually laying down and sleeping in the grass. They have one arm outstretched, another one tucked up on top of their body. They're comfortable. Comfortable. Alright. A couple more quick things, and then I am done for the day as I whack into my easel. But I need to constantly remember that there's a natural way to have shine and an unnatural way to have shine. So a little bit of red over top of my white and vermilion, I think that gives a better texture to the lips. Better texture. I'm going to take some of my umber and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this kind of skin tone. Just a little bit into what's going to be the belly button. Actually, a little more umber. Yeah, I like that. I'll now get a little bit of it here. I have to remember that, like, part of her collarbone is right there. Now that's a really overemphasized shadow, but I'm going to need that in the long run. Just a little bit of an overemphasized shadow. Just a couple spots to help make this look more real. And that's like one of my huge things here. I know I said I was going to be done. I am so hot, but at the same time, there's just a couple things I want to do. How do I ignore my need to do things? I can't. Plus, like, the whole middle here. Like, I need that shadow kind of blended a little already. And I need some of this skin blended a little better. And this round brush is going to help me do it. Okay, that looks nice. I mean, objectively, it looks nice. Thank you to everyone who has joined me today for kind of sitting through my experimentation. And understanding that this is a long process to make a person. What I think is considerably one of the best people I've ever painted. In a few years, I hope to be able to say that again with a much different painting. Because we should always be improving, right? I'm getting a lot of ideas of how I could improve upon this now. And I know I'm going to need to stop for a bit. Like, realistically, I'm going to need to stop for a bit. Not just because I'm hot, but because I've done so much work here already, and there's still a lot of it that's both wet and needs some time to be thought about. But, physically speaking, this is a really good anatomy. This is really decent anatomy. Decent anatomy. This is a decent painting. As I practice more and more on my patience and working longer on a single piece, I'm improving in all sorts of ways, which is something I can't deny. I'm improving because I'm taking more time. I'm improving because I'm allowing things to go through more evolutions. Really looking on the screen right now at that eye. Oh my goodness, that eye actually looks really good. And there's more I can improve on. So much more. So much more I can improve on. But objectively, I'm enjoying this piece. By the time I get to a more natural stopping point where I think I might be done, I'm going to say, I might actually be quite happy. Quite happy. Is everything with the posing perfect? No. But as far as a composition goes, this is really good. This is really good and shows, to me, a lot of improvement in my skills. So, thank you so much for joining me. We are going to be ending today a little early again. I know the past few weeks we have been ending really early, but with the summer heat, it is sometimes quite difficult for me to continue on. And I am doing what I can to work on that, but there's not a lot I can do to keep the heat from being a lot. So, again, there's going to be a link in either the chat or the description of the video or somewhere nearby where you can go to my website. Go there, use the code BDAY, that's BDAY, at checkout for 17% off any purchase over $100. Why? Because this is my birthday month, and I am extending a gift to all of you to say thank you for being here for all of this. And your support means everything to me. Have a wonderful weekend. Be excellent. And I'll see you all again real soon.